I might as well take a scissor and just cut it off, because it's too painful for me. I could only get my arm to a certain height, and then I have to get this thing beyond my elbow, and that's very hard for me. How high up can I go? I can't do it. This one I can hardly lift because I have a torn shoulder. I wouldn't have the operation. Somebody told me once, says, don't ever have that operation, it's the most painful, it's the worst operation, so I've never had it. I have this since 1998. I'm walking around with that pain. And it goes all the way down.
Is there no solution?
No, there's no solution, no. And I have what they call peripheral neuropathy. There's no cure for that.
In English, what does that mean?
I've got it starts in the feet. I think I told you yesterday. It's like somebody with a hammer banging into me, and I can eat dinner at 3 o'clock, I can eat it at 8 o'clock, nobody cares. They have stations.
I never heard of that.
They have stations. They're very ethnic. You could eat any kind of food you want. If you don't eat salt, you ask the guy to do a breast for you without salt, he makes it for me. I don't eat, I eat turkey burger, I won't eat beef. They made me that. Anything I wanted, they did. They cater to everybody's diet.
So,
and anytime you want.
which line was that?
Norwegian.
Norwegian. I was never on the Norwegian.
The boat was 2 years old. It was average 17,000 feet long. I couldn't walk that, get out of that boat. They would have to take me in the wheelchair like they take me in. I couldn't walk that. I never got out. You know what? I keep going to Nassau, the same places I went to 90 years ago. I never have to get out because I've been there. I've seen it all. And I've been all over the world. So what do I have to get out for? Wherever I go, I'm going for a second time or third time.
Well, maybe sometimes you go somewhere, you see it, and then 10 years later, something
But it
comes
doesn't
up.
change. They don't change these places. Europe, for real, doesn't change. The last trip Eddie and I took was to Croatia. We went to Dubrovnik. I'd never been there
Are you
before.
swearing at me?
Am I swearing? You know, I was telling your grandson, Neil, the people there could be so poor. They all have Spanish tile roofs, and they're all live on the water. It's amazing. You don't know who's wealthy and who's poor. We just had to get a guy that, I always had to have a driver because I couldn't walk, can't walk too far. And we were very lucky. We always got somebody that was born there and spoke English very well.
Oh.
And told us all the history. Otherwise we get nothing out of it. Can't do this on your own.
No.
This is where they had the war in '92. What was that war?
It went for several years.
It's a funny name.
Former Yugoslavia.
Yeah, it was right near.
What did you say?
The former Yugoslavia. So it was
Yeah.
like Croatia and Slovakia. It was a terrible war. I
Yeah.
talked to people
We
who
went.
were in
We
that.
saw the top of the mountain where they were sitting, where they were fighting from. But we couldn't go up that day because the president was visiting, so nobody could go up there. But he took us to show us where they were fighting, where they sat on the top of the mountain. It was very interesting.
Shoot down.
Yeah, shoot down. Gee, I tell you.
And where was that?
In I know the name, but I can't remember it. It's a very funny name.
In Europe.
Yeah. Oh yeah, of course. Never let me do anything like that. It's so strict that way. And don't ever sit in a car in front of the house. It's cheap. It's this. It's that. And here I go. I'm going to Fashion Academy. I want to become a designer. I loved fabrics. I was a very good sewer. I had such a feeling. I loved clothing. And I understand I have to start in a factory. That's all I had to tell him. He says, you think I'm going to let you work in a factory? Do you know where these people are coming from? I said, what do I care? I only have to start in the factory. This is how you have to start. Everybody has to do that. To learn how to put a garment together, you do it in a factory. No way. He loves me up, but good. He
So
says,
you
when you
never
play
got
the piano, he says, you go play in a nightclub, you're good enough. I said, Dad, I'm not going to be a pianist. That's not the way I'm going to make a living. Oh, my God.
But it worked out.
It worked out that he got his way. Then I had to think, what am I going to do with my life? I really wanted to be that designer. I was so interested in clothes.
So what was the final?
So the final thing was I got a job with Pico Millinery. I was so afraid of that boss. My father said to me, you better take up typing and shorthand. He says to me, don't go to Strathcona, go to what's the one I went to, Prince Arthur, get the name of the school.
Oh, you never went to Strathcona?
No, I went to another one, another school, because he said to me, you should learn shorthand and typing. He says, well, not so terrible if you start as a secretary. I said, oh, I'm sure I'm gonna love that. It'll be hard, I'm sure, but I won't enjoy it. He says, look, you're starting to see what happens. So, that was my first job. I was so nervous when I had to read back the shorthand to them. This guy was a son of a bitch. Like, I was like getting stomach upsets. I was so scared. My mother said to me, this is ridiculous. You have to find another place. So somebody told me about that they heard that a place from Toronto, I forget the name of the firm. I never went to Toronto. He came to Montreal, the owner. And he said, I want to open, he said to me, you know, he said, your size and your figure, you'd make a very good model for my clothing. I said, oh, my father here's model, that'll be the end of me too.
Yeah.
So he says to me, I would like you to run a showroom for me. And he says, I have a friend who wants to open a showroom in Montreal from Dartmouth Furnitures, from Dartmouth, Nova Scotia. He said, we can combine it and you could be run this place for the two of us. The very little, there won't be letter writing, you don't even have to do shorthand or anything like that. But he said, when the buyers coming, he says, I'm making garments for 5'3" and under. I was perfect for their clothes. And he says, Mr. whatever name from Dartmouth will just give you, it won't be a difficult job. So the combination worked out very well for me. The money was lousy, of course, but it was a job. So I did it. And that's how I started. Then I landed up with two guys, manufacturing of clothing. They were two partners. They were so terrific to me. And my father says, you got the right bosses now. You got 3 months advance, 3 weeks advance already of your pay. So because the way you buy clothes. When I met Eddie and I said we're going to get married, he says, don't tell him you have 32 dresses and forget about an apartment. You just go find closets because that's what you're going to need. That was so funny. He said, if any guy finds out what you've got in those closets, you'll never find a guy. It's impossible. That's the way I lived.
Yeah.
The old expression, nothing is impossible.
Yeah, that's right. You learn to get guts. You get to be, aggressive. You just have to.